Good afternoon. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and today we'll be playing Captain America versus the Sinister Six on Expert difficulty. For the setup, we have put Venom ally into play under the first person's control. No, first player's control. We're not going to do that. We are going to put Venom into the deck. Public outcry. As usual, we will use public outcry in case we get the victory point, but we'll ignore the extra encounter card, which is not needed on solo. Smear campaign in the deck. Snitches get stitches in the deck. One random side quest. It's going to be number 4. And put threat on the light at the end side scheme equal to the number recorded in the Waking Nightmare section. The Waking Nightmare was the number of illusion cards in the deck at the end of the game. The last scenario I had 1 there, so it'll be 21. And then the expert instructions say you can deal 2 face down encounter cards to set your hit point dial to the printed hit point value. I think 2 is too steep a penalty. We'll just do 1 for our custom rules. And that will be it for the setup. So, get everything set up. Gonna save the board state in case I have to restart. So we start with 1 encounter card. The 2 Sinister Six villains that were randomly chosen are Kraven the Hunter and Vulture, and the active counter gets placed on the villain with the lowest activation order value. That's Kraven. These others, which are gray, are set aside out of play. After Kraven the Hunter attacks and damages you, choose and discard 1 support or upgrade you control. Move the active counter to the next villain in the activation order. Vulture, after he attacks and damages you. Okay, so we have a main scheme. And then we have this light at the end side scheme, and the light at the end side scheme is how we win the scenario. Have to remove all the threat from the light at the end, flip it over, and then remove threat from the other side as well. Not sure what's different between expert mode and normal, except that ambush has this extra ability on expert. I think that's about it, actually. Maybe there's additional expert effects on some of the encounter cards. Anyway, let's get started. That hand is not bad, except I don't really need Steve's apartment or shield toss to start. Though shield toss would deal damage to each villain, and that could be quite good. The villains remove threat when they're removed from play. Yeah, we'll keep shield toss. We'll just get rid of Steve's apartment, and then we'll go find Captain America's shield. Always a struggle for me to remember to do that. Alrighty. Here we go. Let's go power of protection for energy barrier. Power on all of us for Captain America's shield. Then I think I'm actually going to shield toss here for 1. Or do I want to hang on to Agent 13, since she is quite good for removing threat, which I do need. Yeah, let's hang on to her. So we'll just go thwart for 2. Ready Captain America. And thwart for 2. Then we'll draw 3. Okay, so 1 threat. And Kraven the Hunter's going to attack. We'll use... I think we'll use Defiance here, so... I'm gonna remove these dudes from play. This will be easier to manage. There we go. So let's go ahead and use Defiance. Get rid of that encounter card, so no damage. 1 retaliation. And that means Kraven's forced response doesn't go off. After Kraven attacks and damages you, you move the active counter to the next villain. He didn't damage, so we don't move the active counter. Then we have 2 encounter cards to resolve. Number 1 is going to be Smear Campaign. And number 2 will be Surprise. Well, that's actually a Surge, so... there's going to be 1 additional and then 1 more additional because this card surges as well. Resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. Choose a set-aside villain at random, put that villain into play, and place the active counter on it. Okay. Shuffle them, put 1 into play, Dr. Octopus, and he gets the active counter. In expert mode, place 2 threat on light at the end, 1, 2. And then we've got still 2 encounter cards. Partnership of Pain. The villain with the highest activation order value attacks you with +X, where X is equal to the total attack of all other villains in play. So the highest activation order is Vulture. So he's going to attack with +4 attack. Ouch. 5/6 attack. So he attacks for 8 total. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ouch, that hurts. And 3 damage from the energy barrier. And then we still got another encounter card coming, which is another Partnership of Pain. So again, an attack for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With 1 addition. Okay, that's just going to end this scenario. Well, okay. Let's restart and try again. Here we go. Once again, 1 additional encounter card for healing. Maybe that even that is not necessary. We should just start at full health by default. We'll see balance-wise what this scenario is like in solo on expert. I think this hand is fine. Get Captain America's shield. So, I want to choose 2 randomly. I don't want to start with the same ones each time. Vulture and Kraven. Okay. Well, I shuffled it. What can you do? There we go. Alright, let's get started. Let's go. Defiance and Fearless Determination for the Super Soldier Serum, and we'll use that and an energy barrier to place Spider-Man. We'll give him +2 thwart. We'll flip over to captain. Get out his shield. We'll go thwart for 3. Thwart for 2. Then we'll draw 5. So hopefully this goes better than last time. We got 1 threat. Activation order goes on the lowest one first. That's Craven. So Captain America will defend the attack. Just for 2, so no damage, 1 retaliate, and then we got encounter cards incoming. We got exhaustion, that's a blank surge. Coordinated effort, each enemy gains 1 acceleration icon. Okay. Partnership and pain. Villain with the highest activation order attacks you with +2 attacks, so that's going to be Vulture. And this minion comes into play, so that's an attack for 4. And 1 retaliate. In expert mode, life-size decoy gains toughness. Okay, so I guess all these cards have extra expert effects. The engaged player cannot thwart side schemes. Interesting. Interesting card. Well, we do need to thwart side schemes. Let's get out energy barrier. Let's go 1, 2, 3 for heroic strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and add a stun. And we can use Spider-Man to defeat Craven the Hunter. And that's going to be 4 threat from a side scheme. And we'll probably want 4 threat off of coordinated effort. So Craven the Hunter defeated. And then we'll draw 6. 5, I mean. So 1, 2 threat, +1, there's an acceleration icon for each enemy. Actually, that's 2 enemies. So that hurts. Then we'll have Vulture attack. And Cap will defend. Attack is for 5s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And with the energy barrier damage, we'll go 1, 2. 1 retaliate on Vulture. Or actually, you know what? Let's not damage this enemy. Let's just go 1, 2. So we can take out Vulture this round. And we got 1 encounter card coming in, which is going to be attached to the villain with the lowest activation value. If you cannot resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme, then attach this card to the active villain. Oh, if you cannot, resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. Comma does matter in that case. Okay. And that's a crisis icon, so you have to defeat this enemy before you can thwart the main scheme. That's interesting. We've never seen that challenge before. I like it though. So let's go strength for Super Soldier Serum. And let's go 1, 2. We can use Fearless Determination to draw a card here, and then we'll go 1, 2, and 3 for Agent 13. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. There's a crisis icon out though, so maybe before we do this, let's go Heroic Strike to ready Captain America and use him and Spider-Man to defeat Vulture. And then we remove 7 threat from a side scheme. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we can do the Super Soldier Serums and Hard to Ignore for Agent 13. Remove 2 threat from Coordinated Effort. And we'll use Agent 13 to thwart the main scheme. It says we cannot thwart side schemes, but we can remove using the response because that's not a thwart. Nor is the when defeated ability on the villains. Okay, so let's draw 5. One threat plus no more acceleration icons. So when a villain would activate, if no villain is in play, resolve the ambush ability, which is choose a set aside villain at random. What happens if you've defeated all the Sinister Six? So it's Hobgoblin. And then we continue the activation. We also place 2 threat on light at the end. So Hobgoblin will attack Captain America. He will defend. Or he could just shield block. Probably just shield block. Retaliate for 1. And then life-size decoy should be attacking as well for 0, which I think would actually proc Hard to Ignore and Unflappable if they were in play. But anyway, we got 1 encounter card coming in, which is Brute Force Barricade. When defeated, add this card to the victory display. Threat cannot be removed from other side schemes. So that's 9 threat. That's a big barrier. Interesting that doesn't scale up or down. 9 threat, but it's 9 threat whether you're a solo player or whether you're a 4-player game. And obviously 9 threat is a much bigger deal in solo than it is in multiplayer. So it's just another example of this box not being designed with solo players in mind at all. It's really quite janky to play in solo. Which is a shame because I really love the player cards for this expansion, but it's going to be kind of low down my list for expansions to recommend to solo players. It's either going to be last or it's not going to come after Galaxy's Most Wanted, but it's likely to be second to last. We'll see about Mutant Genesis, but this box just was not designed for solo players at all. Anyway, after the side quest enters play, move on to the player phase. We can start working on this life-size decoy, I guess, because I am going to need to thwart side schemes for sure. So let's use Agent 13 to thwart the main scheme. So I actually have a thought now. Life-size decoy should have been attacking each turn he was on the table, right? And then taking retaliate damage. Let me check on that. Yeah, he does attack for 0, so I'm going to have to check how many turns he's been on the table because he should have taken 1 retaliate damage each time. Okay, it's just going to be 2 retaliate damage. So he's at 4 health. And then we're square. And we can move on to the hero phase. And I could shield toss here. Or I could get out 2 hard to ignores. I think I'll shield toss. Let's go 1, 2, shield toss for 2. Get rid of the life-size decoy. And deal 4 damage to Hobgoblin. Bring the shield back to hand, and then we'll play the shield and hard to ignore. And we'll thwart for 2 off of Brute Force Barricade. And we'll draw 5. So 1 threat, 1 attack from Hobgoblin, which Captain America will defend. Do I need expert defense? I don't think that I really do. Maybe I'll regret it. So, nope, he just attacks for 3. 1 retaliate damage. Hard to ignore, removes 1 threat. 1 encounter card coming in. Taunting Presence. Attached to the villain with the most hit points remaining if you cannot resolve ambush. If you cannot resolve the ambush ability, I think it needs a then in there to make it more clear. I think the comma could be replaced by a then, which would be less easy to miss. Then attach this card to the active villain. Threat cannot be removed from light at the end. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, on to the hero phase. And how many multiple mans are in my deck currently? All of them. So I do want to do that. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 for well, first let's thwart with Agent 13 off this side quest. Now we'll retire her, and then we'll get the multiple mans. All of the multiple mans or the multiple men. Bring him into play. And then we'll use expert defense to get out unflappable. We'll go 1, 2, 3 and defeat the hobgoblin. Remove 7 threat from light at the end, I think. No, threat cannot be removed. It doesn't say you can't thwart, so we'll have to remove it from brute force barricade. Add that to the victory display. And then we'll draw 5. That's going to resolve public outcry as well for the first time this campaign, I think. So 1 threat, and we bring in a new villain. Electro. After Electro attacks and damage is used. So this one really emphasizes threat removal and defense. Defense being a common theme for this expansion, and I like that because Ghost Spider is a very defense-oriented hero, but she is not a threat-oriented hero, which means this is just another way that this expansion is really oriented around multiplayer, because they really want you to play a hero that has both threat removal and defense, and that kind of suggests that they oriented it around Ghost Spider Miles' team, but it means you can't play either Ghost Spider or Miles in true solo because neither of them can do both of those things well. Miles' defense is limited to his ability to stun and confuse, and Venom is hard to stun. Venom Goblin is impossible to stun. So they really wanted you to use multiple heroes for this and didn't pay attention at all to whether you would be able to play this in solo. But anyway, Electro is going to attack. We'll have him attack Captain America. And we're just going to shield block here. So attack is for 3, shield block, retaliate for 1. Then we also have hard to ignore. Actually, hard to ignore is after your hero defends against an attack, so I'd have to exhaust Captain America if I wanted hard to ignore to go off, but unflappable is after you defend. I may have done that incorrectly with hard to ignore in the past if I used a shield block. I don't know, I'd have to go back and look at everything. But unflappable does go off. And then we've got 1 encounter card incoming. Teamwork makes the dream work. Each enemy gets +1 scheme and +1 attack. Okay, I probably care about that. I'm not sure. And there's a lot of side schemes in this one. This is a very, very thwart-heavy scenario. Let's move on to the hero phase, and we'll go flow like water. We'll go energy barrier. And I think we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Get rid of teamwork makes the dream work. I don't know. That's a really inefficient use of the multiple mans. Maybe I don't do that. Just go 1-2. Remove from teamwork makes the dream work. Then we'll draw 4. So 1 threat. Electro will attack. We'll put that on a multiple man. It's a bit anti-synergistic though. So I think I want it to go on Captain America. And he will exhaust to defend. So the attack is for 4, plus 1 is 5. And I wanted to use Never Back Down. If I needed to use the energy barriers, I would have here so that I can get the stun on Electro. And then we have Hard to Ignore, Unflappable, Flow Like Water, and 1 encounter card incoming, which is Surprise. In expert mode, this card gains Surge. Resolve the ambush ability on the main scheme. Okay, so we got a second villain incoming. Scorpion. And you get a Surge. So currently Electro is active. Surge into another Surprise. Yikes. So this deck can be just kind of, this encounter deck can be lumbering along, not doing much, and then suddenly a lot happens. Take 1 for the team, attached to the villain with the highest attack. That would be Scorpion. You cannot attack villains who do not have an attached copy of Take 1 for the team. Okay. And we're on to the hero phase now. So, can we dispatch Electro here? Is this actually a spot where I want to play Venom? I think I do. I think he's good enough to play here. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 and play Venom. After we use one of the multiple men to thwart. We'll play Venom. Attack for 3. Gonna ready Captain America and thwart for 2. And then we'll just draw 4. I don't really think Venom is good generally. I think he's more of a hindrance to your game than a help if you start the game with him on the board, because 2 encounter cards is a much bigger deal to handle early in the game than it is late. With the full setup, I'm taking a risk putting Venom out, but I'd like to try him out, so we'll see how it goes. We got 1 threat, we got Electro attacking, and Captain America defending with Never Back Down. Actually, no, Electro doesn't attack. Electro is stunned. Then we have 1 encounter card coming. No, wait, sorry. Electro can't be damaged by Venom. Because of this, take 1 for the team. The attack has to go on Scorpion. So we removed the stun, then we have 1 encounter card, and that'll be Off the Rails, which surges. When the villain phase begins, place 1 speed counter here. If there are at least 2 speed counters here, remove this card and discard the top 3 of each player's deck. So the second encounter card is Life-Size Decoy, which in expert mode gains toughness. That's not too big a deal because he's going to attack and damage himself. So let's move on to the player turn. Oh, we have 1 additional encounter card because of Venom. So wait, after you reveal an encounter card, deal 1 damage to Venom, deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of icons in that card's boost area. Let's do that. So 2 damage. It could go on any villain, but we'll put it on Scorpion. Then we have a second encounter card coming, which is Smear Campaign. So that's going to be 1 damage to Venom and 3 damage. Wait, why did I remove 2? Number of icons. It should have been only 1 damage on Scorpion. But for Smear Campaign, it'll be 3. If Public Outcry is not in play, place 2 threat on the main scheme. And then that surges into 2 more damage on Scorpion. Partnership of Pain, the villain with the highest activation order value attacks you with +X attack. That will be Scorpion, and he's attacking with +3 attack. 4, so he's attacking with 7 against one of the multiple men. That's fine, that's what they're there for. So that resolves everything. Yeah, this is such a big risk with these additional encounter cards, but Venom can really deal some damage rapidly. So he's a very high risk, high reward type of ally. Very interesting ally. So on to the player phase. Let's go Venom. Let's go Captain America and take out Scorpion. Remove 4 threat from a side scheme. Do I care about off the rails? Yeah, sure, why not? Send it off to the victory display. And Scorpion is defeated. And we can use Venom to... So the life-size decoy should have attacked last round? Or did he come into the board last round? Let me check. No, he was on the board last round. We'll use Venom to deal 3 damage to Electro. I'm actually going to play Steve's apartment here just because I don't have anything else to do. Use Power of All of Us to ready. Deal 2 damage to Electro. I think I'll use the multiple man here to retire Electro. Or would I rather just let the Retaliate do it? Let's just let the Retaliate do it, I guess. And then we'll just draw 2. Okay, so 1 threat. 1 attack from Electro. And we'll use... do I actually need to expert defense? I don't think I do. Attack is for 3. So the Retaliate will retire Electro. Remove 4 threat from a side scheme. And Dr. Octopus remains in play. Then we have an attack from life-size decoy for 1 Retaliate. And then we have 2 encounter cards incoming. We won't use Venom on that one. Dr. Octopus will scheme. For 3, that's going to advance the quest. Choose a set aside villain at random, put that villain into play, and place the active counter on it. If no villain was put into play this way, or this is expert mode, deal the first player 1 face down encounter card. Well, we don't have any villains left. But according to the rules, the defeated villains go back to being set aside. So actually, I think we should have been reshuffling each time, which means multiple villains could have come up. It could have affected the order. But that's alright. I actually think that it should work this way. I think that the villains should go to like a special villain discard pile when they're defeated, so that you couldn't, for example, face Craven 3 times in a row or something. It's more cinematic to have to face all the Sinister Six, but so I did it incorrectly, but I think that's okay. It ends up being more cinematic, and I don't think it really affects the difficulty at all. But anyway, we can resolve the when revealed with a randomly chosen villain with the active counter on it, and then we get one more encounter card. So second encounter card from every direction. Place one threat on the main scheme for each enemy in play. That's 3. And that surges. Partnership of Pain, so that's going to be an attack from Scorpion. That will go on multiple man. And then we have, we'll use Venom on this. Well, no, we're not going to. The villain attacks you, so we'll put that attack on Venom. Okay, that resolves everything. And we're on to the player phase. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 for Luke Cage. Expert defense, ready cap, thwart for 2. Did I forget to resolve some things from the last attack? I may have forgotten hard to ignore and or unflappable, I'm not sure. That would have affected possibly whether I went into this second phase or not, but here I'm not going to fix that because I messed up in a way that harms me, not the encounter deck. So let's go ahead and draw 3. This is a long fight, very long fight. One threat, one attack from Scorpion, which will go on Captain America. We'll use Defiance on it. So 1 retaliate, 1 hard to ignore, 1 unflappable, 1 flow like water, 1 extra encounter card for having cycled through the deck, 1 attack from Life-Size Decoy for 1 damage, and then 2 encounter cards. Snitches get stitches. Attached to Venom. Nope, he's not in play. It's a blank surge. Shadow of the Past. In comes Baron Zemo with a quick strike for 3. Which we will energy barrier for 3 damage plus 1 retaliate. And Hit Squad is going to deal damage as well. Discard 1, boost of 1, so we'll just use that to take out Baron Zemo right away. And then the villain schemes. He schemes for 0 plus 1 plus 2 indirect damage. Okay. Let's go with Nick Fury for remove 2 threat from a scheme. We'll ready Captain America, remove the final threat from Hit Squad after we take out the life-size decoy, because otherwise we can't thwart side schemes. Then we'll draw 4. So 1 threat, 1 attack from Scorpion, which will go on Nick Fury. one encounter card, which will be 2 more encounter cards, which is quite dangerous with this quest. That's going to be 1 acceleration token. Robotic enhancements. This card gains insight 1. Put the set aside Dr. Octopus and Scorpion into play. Scorpion's already in play, so he gains stun. And that's going to bring Dr. Octopus. Oh, Dr. Octopus is already in play, so that gains confused. And then Hail Hydra. Each Hydra minion engaged attacks. Each player who is not attacked searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a Hydra minion. Puts it into play, engaged with them. It's going to be one of these Hydra soldiers. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 for Avengers Mansion. Draw a card. We'll remove Captain America's Confuse. We'll ready him and thwart for 2. Use Luke Cage to attack for 2. Use Expert Defense to get out a second hard to ignore. Then we'll draw 4. So let's go attack, 2 threat, 1 attack from Scorpion. Captain America will defend. Super Soldier Serum for Never Back Down. Put this minion into play, engaged with you. Gains toughness. So no damage, that's going to be 2 hard to ignore, 1 stun, 1 unflappable, 1 flow like water for 1 damage on probably the Hydra Soldier. And he's going to attack for 2, which will shield block and retaliate for 1. It's 1 additional encounter card. Life-size Decoy will attack for 1 retaliate. Then we got 2 encounter cards to resolve. Villain Schemes for 0 plus 2. And then the villain attacks, but he is stunned. Okay. Well, let's draw a card. Don't think there are any multiple mans in the deck in the discard pile, right? So I could get him out again. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 for multiple man. And a second multiple man. So we got a buffer for extra attacks. Go 1, 2, ready Captain America and thwart for 2. Draw 4. So 2 threat, 1 attack from Scorpion. Let's never back down. 1 stun. 1 retaliate. 2 hard to ignores. Unflappable. Flow like water, and life-size Decoy attacks for 1 retaliate, and then 1 encounter card, which is Partnership of Pain. So Scorpion's going to attack again. We'll have to put that on a multiple man, that's why they're there. Okay, onto the player turn. Let's go Unflappable. Let's use Fearless Determination. Draw a card. Go Unflappable, Defiance, Super Soldier Serum for Mockingbird. Get a stun. Let's use Heroic Strike instead. And just get rid of Scorpion. Remove 4 threat from a side scheme. Send Scorpion off to the out of play pile. And then we can use Luke Cage for 2 damage. We'll use Mockingbird to ready Captain America, I think. And Thwart for 2 on the main scheme. Then we'll draw 3. So 2 threat, 1 attack from Dr. Octopus, which will use Never Back Down. 5. 1 stun. Hard to ignore. Unflappable. Flow like water. Life-size decoy attacks for 1 retaliate. 1 encounter card. Advance. 5 threat. Jeez. That's brutal. Alright. Draw a card. Let's go Genius Super Soldier Serum for Miles Morales. Give him +2 thwart. Luke Cage for 2. Let's put that on life-size decoy. Let's go 1, 2, 3 for Heroic Strike just for the damage. We'll axe Dr. Octopus. Drop threat by 7. And Doc Ock is defeated. We'll resolve ambush. +2 threat thanks to the Sinister, thanks to being on expert mode. And we flip light at the end. So now we get an additional encounter card, and we need 15 threat to win. Yep, that's everything. So let's go draw 4. And we got 2 threat. We got Electro attacking, and we'll defend and use Defiance. So 1 retaliate, 1 flow like water, 2 hard to ignore, unflappable, and 1 damage from retaliate for the life-size decoy attack. Then we got 2 encounter cards. Partnership of Pain. So Electro is going to attack on a multiple man. And Snitches get Stitches, that's a blank surge. Venom is not in play. Heightened Morale. Just +1 attack. Okay. How quickly can I do 15 thwart? I mean, I get 7 for killing a villain. That's a good start. You can go 1, 2... Well, first let's draw a card. So 1, 2, 3 for Agent 13. That removes 2 threat. Can use her to thwart for 2. 2 for... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Venom. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and defeat Electro to remove 7 threat. Get the heightened morale out of the way. And then we'll draw 5. So 1/2 threat, 1 villain incoming, and he will attack. We'll have Captain America defend. Okay, so the attack is for 3. It's 1 retaliate, 2 hard to ignore, 1 unflappable. That's going to be an additional encounter card, so a lot of additional encounter cards here. We got 1 for Venom, 1 for Light at the end, 1 normal. 4 total, so we're going to make use of Venom's ability a lot here. And try to defeat Vulture, and then hopefully end the game that way. So first encounter card, Man Out of Time. Deal 1 damage to Venom, 3 damage to the enemy. No, 2 damage. It's not 1 more than. So 2 damage, Man Out of Time. I can't exhaust Steve Rogers, so I have to discard 3 cards from my hand. Go 1, 2, 3. Deal 1 damage to Venom, 1 more damage to Vulture. Deal 1 damage to Venom, 2 more damage to Vulture, and we've got Taunting Presence, which now means threat cannot be removed from Light at the end. And then Gang Up. So Vulture's going to attack. We'll put that attack on Spider-Man. And also life-size decoy attacks for 1 retaliate. Well, that's everything. So we've got to defeat Vulture before the threat can be removed from Light at the end. But that should be no problem. We'll use Venom to defeat Vulture. It doesn't remove any threat, unfortunately. And we've got to defeat the life-size decoy as well, actually, before I can thwart. So actually, how do I want to do this? Vulture had 1 HP remaining. Let's say I shield toss for 2. 4 damage on Vulture, 4 damage on the life-size decoy. Then I use Venom to take out the life-size decoy. No, I can't do that because Captain America is stunned. So if I ready Captain America first, I can Avengers Mansion to draw a card, ready Captain America, remove his stun, then shield toss, deal 4 damage, 4 damage, use Venom for 3 damage, thwart, well, actually, here's how you do it. So we first use Venom to deal 3 damage to life-size decoy. Then we shield toss, deal 4 damage to X enemies. First we'll deal 4 damage to the life-size decoy, 4 damage to Venom with no enemies in play. No, it's still blocked. You can't remove threat because of the taunting presence. This is a puzzle. I don't think I can actually end the game this round. So instead of thwarting to remove from light at the end, we're going to remove from Sinister Beatdown. Everything else will do. And then we draw 5. So 1 threat, in comes 1 villain. +2 threat for the ambush. Did I forget that at some point? I may have forgotten the +2 threat at some point, which may have been a big deal. I'll have to go back and check. But Vulture would attack, and we'll use Defiance. Probably would have had to change like how I thwarted or when I removed villains from play. 1 damage from Flow Like Water, 1 damage from Retaliate, and then 3 encounter cards. One villain attacks, we'll put that on Venom. Coordinated effort. Okay. So can I just thwart for 4 here? Yeah. No problem. Ready, cap, thwart, thwart. That ends it. Let me go back and check about the extra threat. Okay, so a couple of procedural things I noticed. First, I did need to add 2 additional threat when Electro came out, and then with Vulture I did it properly, but it wouldn't have ended the game, but it would have prolonged it a little bit. Second, I Heroic Strike once or twice when Captain America was stunned, which wasn't possible, which simply means I would have needed to use one of his actions to remove his stun instead of attacking. So again, could have prolonged the game for another turn or 2. Probably 1 turn extra, I would say. But given the board state, I don't think it would have affected the win or the loss. But it is important to note these things for players watching and for myself for the future to continue improving. Of course, the main point of playing these quests is that we want to evaluate them. We want to see if they're good. We want to see if I would recommend them for players or in what order I would recommend buying them. And we want to see how playable they are in solo, how playable they are with different heroes. Given that this was an hour-long quest, but not an especially difficult one, there's just a lot of small things to manage. I don't know if I'll replay this one or not and correct the mistakes, because I don't think that they would have caused me to lose. They would have just prolonged the game. Though it is possible that I'm wrong about that. This quest is playable in solo. I enjoyed it. It would have been probably a shorter quest if when you defeated all 6 of the villains they didn't keep coming back over and over. They are kind of the best way to remove threat from the side scheme. Once you get set up, there's not a lot of risk of losing unless you get a lot of extra attacks in a row and you don't have minions to deal with it, which is what happened in the first attempt on this. But yeah, there's not a lot of heroes in true solo that can defeat all 5 of these scenarios without changing heroes. And in a lot of different ways, these quests are not set up for solo play. Like this side scheme, coordinated effort, is 6 threat, not 6 threat per player, just 6 threat. That's unusual. Most side schemes are X amount per player. Hidden in Shadow, 4 threat, not 4 threat per player. Teamwork makes the dream work, 5 threat, not 5 threat per player, or X threat per player. Also the case with, what was the other one? I mean, light at the end has hindered 10 per player, so that does scale up and down, which is good. Brute Force Barricade, 9 threat, not 9 threat per player. So all of these challenges get easier in solo than they are in, or get easier in multiplayer than they are in solo. That seems to be the case with every single scenario in this expansion, is that it gets easier in multiplayer. Because the challenges, the extra encounter cards, it's not one encounter card per player. It's just one overall. So none of these challenges scale up for multiplayer, including the challenges provided by the campaign mode, which makes it hard to recommend this campaign for solo players. But I still do really enjoy playing these scenarios in true solo. You just need to either play them in standalone or play with custom campaign rules to account for the imbalance in solo play. So my apologies for the procedural things that I messed up, forgetting the 2 threat, forgetting to remove the stun before heroic striking. But given the board state, I don't think it would impact whether I would win or lose. It was a very long quest, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. And thank you for watching.